So welcome back to the Berlin hearing. We already went to a lot of our hearings, and now we will continue to do so and give our witnesses and organization the chance to share their work and also their testimonies. Now we're gonna go forward with the hearing 7 on living under stress, encampment and risk of deportation in Germany, and the hearing will mainly be in English. But if you still need translation, as always, please write us an email on the ppt_berlin@riseup.net. Or if you are here in the room and you need translation, please consult me or Khaled, my co-moderator, if you need any help. So in this hearing, we will have several testimonies and also organizations presenting their work. And first, we will start with the testimony of a witness from Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, which is Guillermo Thompson. And he will talk to the topic of complicity and silence. And he has prepared a little PowerPoint presentation with quite explicit photos. So just a small warning that you are aware of what is coming next. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Guillermo Thompson. I'm a refugee at this camp in Horst, Mecklenburg. And my story is a real story that is happening as we speak in this camp. And I thank you, Mr. Saeed, Mrs. Sarah, for being here as well, and everybody as well. So as you know, this is not a new story. This has been happening for many years at this camp. So the experience that many refugees are suffering right now as we speak is police brutality, Maltesa, who are the people who are supposed to take care of us as mentally, as to give us a secure place. They're not doing this. They're violating our rights. How are they violating our rights? If we speak out. If we speak out for something that we might need for accommodations. The children, when you ask for something for medical treatment, there's none. This is what happens when you speak out. I can continue to show these pictures all day. Broken windows from the second storage, from the facility where I'm staying, house 2. Their children's. This is real. This speaks out. Stop the police brutality, stop the racism against the refugees. We are not criminals. We fled our country, not because we just want to come to any country. I chose Germany because Germany society respects the law. And I believe in this German law society. This is my daughter, Valentina Thompson, a 5-year-old young lady. She was unfortunately assaulted by a refugee because supposedly he has mental problems. As a father, when I saw that she got assaulted, I immediately tried to stop the situation, but I was also assaulted. The police came, but until I pressured the Maltesers to call the police, otherwise they would have never, ever brought this issue. I have many videos, but I was advised by my legal team that I should not show it here. And I don't want to risk putting myself again in danger of the police. But I have it on my phone. They took it to me on the 27th. Inside my room, The police with the Maltesers went inside my house, which is my house, the room, because I consider it my safe haven. And just because I have a speaking out for many refugees, just like Mr. Jaime sitting right here, he's another refugee. Just like the family of Carlos Mendez Pineda, just as Jensen Savillon. Many refugees are suffering because there's no medical treatment, and when you speak out, this is what you get. You get beat up. But I'm not going to stop, because this is my truth. I'm a refugee. And it's very traumatizing, not just for me, for my daughter, for every refugee in this horse camp. The government needs to know the reality. And matter of fact, they know this. Why they know this? Because when I had my interview on the 18th and the 19th of August with my BUMF, the immigration officer, Mrs. Plummer, my interview lasted from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 50-minute recess. And in one of the many times that we were asking, she would ask me why I fled my country, because I'm an activist in my country. She laughed. And I really want for Mrs. Plummer to see this video, because she knows I'm telling you the truth. She asked me, why do you want to be in Germany? I told her, because I don't have no other way to go. I cannot stay in my country because Juan Orlando Hernandez is a dictator. And everybody knows it. The European nation knows it. The United States knows it. And they still support this regime. This is why I'm standing here in front of you guys. Because this is the reality in a refugee camp. They give you sandwiches Monday to Sunday, morning and dinner for the whole month. I'm asking everybody here right now, is that a nutritional diet for a children to be eating sandwiches all the time? Is it a crime for me to ask for a bay sheep for my daughter and for the Maltesers to give me a dirty one? Because they say, oh, this is Guillermo. This is the guy who's speaking out. So let's make his life miserable here. There's a small group of Maltesers, not all of them, because I have spoken to other good Maltesers who have said to me in a confidential way, but they told me that it's okay to speak out, not to give them. There is the East Wing. Berlin used to be divided by West and East, and some Maltesers belong to the white supremacist group. So this is why we get treated as criminals. I know I have 15 minutes to talk, but I'm going to make the best 15 minutes of my life for these refugees who are suffering in this camp and in many camps. There's many camps in Germany who were not supposed to be open. Didn't we learn our lesson back in 1930s? Didn't the German society, which is a good society, but some small groups could continue having the mentality of the 1930s? This is 2020. To migrate to any country is a right. To speak is a right, a human right. So I ask everybody here to please, this is one of the reasons I came here. So the whole people who are watching me know the real situation was going on in Germany and in Italy, in Spain. My daughter deserves a better life, but when the governments from the European nations and along with the the United States of America supporting a regime from Guatemala, from Honduras, we are forced to literally to migrate, because if we stay, they will kill us. Like in my case, I was assaulted by the militants of Juan Orlando Hernandez Alvarado, and many Honduras people flee. And you can check this information in the internet. Juan Orlando's congressman brother is in jail for drug trafficking. And we can continue talking about this. But the main thing about this conference that you invite me, that I'm really thankful for being here, is the children. They're the future. They're the ones that Germany society needs to take care of them and not have them in a facility where it's not suitable for children. At this moment, if anybody wants to ask me a question, I'm willing to speak or to answer your question back.
We have a question from one of the jurors, Mr. Ahmed Said, here in present. Please go ahead.
My question is...
You're still muted. You're still muted. 1 second.
Okay.
No. Please go ahead.
My question is, if you have tried already to report this assault to the police, have you tried?
If I file a police complaint, I have my attorney. This is why I explained to you, Mr. Said, that I cannot
Show the videos?
show you the video. I would love to show it. That's why I'm here. They're not going to silence me. That's the first thing. It was what the Maltesers do, used to retaliate against me by not giving me the toilet papers, the clean blankets. They will enter my room without permission. That didn't stop me from me asking for my rights. Then it escalated into that 27th of September when I was assaulted inside my room by the police. Because the Malteser told her, this is the guy who's been speaking out. I got the videos inside. They could not unblock my phone. Thank God it's an iPhone. They took it away from me. They took it to the police station. The police officer said, no, we're not going to give it to you. But they couldn't open it. Thank God I have the evidence to prove it. I would love to show it, but I was advised by my legal attorney, Catherine Hildesberg, not to, that it's still the investigation ongoing right now as we speak.
Thank you.
And another thing is, please understand that I'm a little bit hard in it, so if my voice is a little bit... Okay, thank you. So, anybody else wants to ask me a question? I'm here. I don't know how much time I have.
Yes, please. There is a question that we received. It says, could you please speak a little bit more about the work of the Maltesers in the camp? You said you're living now currently in a camp called Horst, right?
Yes.
Could you please elaborate on the Malteser role there?
Okay, when the Maltesers are a small group of people who have the thinking of white supremacists against the refugees, like I say, if you ask for any medical treatment, there's none. For the weekends, there's no treatment. There's no doctors. When you go to the cafeteria and you have not finished your food, they don't allow you to take it back to your room or to your barracks, your housing. And if you try to talk to them, they say this word, nay, you cannot. So I learned it the hard way. They grabbed me from my back the first day I was there. So it's on video as well. And they treat you bad. They don't treat you like a refugee. They treat you like if you're in a refugee, criminal, prisoner of war camp. That's the reality. And this has been going on for many years. You can look it up, this information regarding this camp and many other camps in the internet, and you'll find out the whole situation. And no authority from Germany looks into this problem. They just ignore it. But you cannot continue to ignore the truth. Yes, Mrs. Sarah.
Thank you very much for your testimonial. You were saying that security or the police or maybe even staff, the Malteser, enter your room, your private room, without permission. Maybe you could explain a little more. In which situations does this happen? What do they want in your room? Because, as you already said, this is your private space and it is protected under the Constitution and should not be entered without permission. And we know that this is a problem in many refugee shelters, and I would like to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, as you said, Mrs. Sarah, you want me to clarify? The reason they went into my room on the 27th of September of this present year was because I continue since upon my arrival to this camp. I noticed many things was going on with this Malteser, disrespecting the refugees, not providing with, like I said, a clean blanket. So I started speaking out. I started to filming the situations. This is why I was being retaliated. So the day that I was coming from Rostock on the 27th, they supposed to lock my room. So when I arrived from Rostock, they went through my stuff. I noticed that they made a mess. They were looking for something, I guess the videos. So I told the Malteser that why, when I left, the door was locked. And now I find myself in this situation that all my paper was scattered in my room. So I started filming the crime scene. And also there was a broken window outside in the lobby. A day before there was been a fight, refugees, so it was broken windows. So I started filming the window, not people's faces. So they called the police. And I was not being violent. And I was inside my room when this happened. And I have the videos. And again, I wish, I'm like eager to show them, but I cannot because I might get myself into trouble legally because the law, German laws prohibit to show the police face. So that's why I cannot show it, but I can show the pictures of this. So that's why I was assaulted by the police, because I've been doing a lot of activity as an activist, filming the incidents that's going on with people fighting with knife and children watching horrible things to see blood and the alarm, sounding the alarm and everything. I mean, it's horrible. It's very horrible, Sarah. So I don't know what else. The government needs to be held accountable for this. Not just Guillermo, not just Valentina. The whole refugees. They have the right to migrate, the right to be safe. We're in Germany. I feel safe. But after this, what's going on right here in Germany, I fled my country because of this. Please help us. I mean, help us, Germany society, the good society, because Germans are good people. They respect the law, and let's start respecting the law, the human rights for every human being. The refugees, we have the right to be here. We're not criminals. You already took my fingerprints. You already checked that I'm not a criminal, so don't treat me like a criminal. And give my daughter the opportunity that you took away the European, the United States, when you support the regimes. That's why we fled Honduras. That's why Jaime, president here, fled Mexico as well. That's why Frank Charlie from Sierra Leone fled as well. He's been here 11 years. Please.
Thank you. We still also have another input.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I wanted to ask, from what I understand, the Maltese organization works in several camps, so I'm not sure if you can actually answer me, but do you know if this is a widespread practice in camps besides your own? Thank you.
Can you please repeat it? The sound was not totally clear. Could you please repeat your question louder?
Yes, sorry. I started just by
Yeah.
thanking the sharing of this very painful experience. From what I understand, the Maltese organization works in several camps, and I'm not sure if you can answer me, but do you know if what you're telling us about is a widespread practice in camps besides your own? Thank you.
So I think she was asking, and please correct me if I am mistaken, you were asking if this is a general practice in the different camps that Maltesers is working in, right?
Thank you. It's a normal practice every day. To me, it's not normal. It should not be normal. But they are doing it as we speak.
She was asking if it's also, if you have some information. Excuse me. She was asking also if you have some information whether this practice is practiced also, and like if it's the same situation in other camps. Do you know, for example, did you hear from someone if it's also practiced, if it's a practice in a different camp?
Yes, I read on an article from this journalist, Venezuelan newsman, who's a refugee as well in Lesbin. I don't know if I said it right. Lesbin? Yeah. So yes, I have heard there's a normal practice.
Okay, thank you very much for your input. Do we have another other inputs from the jury? Okay, thank you very much for.
Can I just finish?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. You can get my. So by me, this is my story, and I want to finish by telling you, to everybody here, present and online, thank you for listening to the refugees, and I'm speaking in behalf of them, the true story of this horrible camp, that is named Horst in Mecklenburg. And don't ever forget this picture that I'm holding. They're the future. Let's protect them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. We still have one input from the jury. May you stay here, please? Thank you for interruption. No, we have actually two inputs, one from the jury and one from the attendance here in the with us. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's. I'm just wondering that you are still living in the camp.
Yes, and Mrs. Plummer, after the interview, Mrs. Plummer is the immigration from Banff. She told me, and I explained to her on the 18th or the 19th, how long I was going to be there, and she goes, do not worry. She's going to be here a couple of weeks. Well, guess what, Mrs. Plummer? I've been here 3 months with my daughter, and she was assaulted. And I did explain to you the violations of many refugees was going on.
And even after you reported the assault that you have went through, you're still living in the same camp that you are accused, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still there, unfortunately, and there's a lot of children who are still there.
Thank you.
And we need to change that. That is not right. No children should be in this facility. There's no medical treatment for anybody, and they know it. And I invite any political government to go see it with your own eyes. And let me see if you want to live in that situation. Thank you. heard about his personal thing, what's going on with his child. Yes, he's a Horse as well.
So sorry for this confusion. We have now another refugee, another participant who's living in the camp, and he would like to give his input. It's not a comment, but he also would like to elaborate more about the situation in Horst camp. And he's here with us. We will have him soon. We just need to do the disinfection. Regarding the corona measurements, please, the floor is yours. Go ahead. Oh, it will be in Spanish, so if you need any equipments for the translation, please get your equipment. And for the online participants also, and the participants in the aquarium, if you need translation, please get the translation equipment now. Go ahead. Thank you very much for your input and your ad. It's really fascinating, the courage that you have and also the situation that you're living in. We heard before about the situation in Greece islands, and we heard also about the situation in UK. But I think today what is really unique about this day that we can hear from witnesses about what's happening in Germany, on the German territory, where we are proud to talk about human rights. And we heard since the morning some testimonials. We had 3 inputs, and now this one, talking about the discrimination from the police, the violence of the police in Germany. It's not in the US, not somewhere else. Germany was considered for many refugees, as they stated, a safe country and a place where they can flee oppression. Unfortunately, they are living here, as we heard, under very harsh conditions in a place where they should have received proper treatment. And I'm really fascinated by your testimonies today and by your encouraging. I hope it's not re-traumatizing you. And from this point, I would like to leave the floor for the jurors, if they have any contributions, whether the online jurors or the jurors in present. We are a little bit behind the schedule actually for this, but I think this is also a very valuable testimonies, and I would like to give you the floor if you have any other inputs to contribute.
Raising his hand.
Okay, we have one contribution also from the participants here. Ein Moment bitte. Now, can someone pass him a microphone? Or are you willing to come here? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. Now, also coming to Germany, we're moving to another input. It's under the title Refugee Struggle in Bavaria, and it's a Zoom input from Flüchtlingsrat Bayern.
I'm a refugee in Germany and Bavaria, but the difficulties refugees are going through in Bavaria, and it's too much in Germany, but I can say in Bavaria is the most worst place concerning refugees programs. Because first of all, I can say the main issue is this police brutality with the security violence in lagers, whereby refugees are. And because I hear a colleague was speaking before concerning housing about refugees, because these Maltese workers which she was speaking about is the same thing happening here in Bayern, because they will go to a room, searching your pants, saying that this pant is very expensive for you. And I think that is something which you know that is not normal. And concerning this brutality, it makes a lot of refugees to come to be on handicaps here in Bavaria, because we have most of the refugees have been beaten by security, hands are broke, legs are broke. It's all happening here. Though we cannot show any picture, but if I thought people need to see it also, we have proof, we have evidence to show that what we are saying is not a lie, is something what is happening here in Bavaria. And most of the people, they are sick, they are ill, but they don't have access to medical. Because if you say, they can say, okay, this one, we cannot pay for it. But I think every sickness can kill. So if you say, okay, this sickness, you have headache, I can do it, but this other sickness, we have nothing to do with that. So then still being a refugee, I think is just the name, but it's not real what they are saying. And let Germany not to forget, they are the people who welcome the refugees here in Germany. Welcome to Germany. They open their border, they say the refugees are welcome. So if refugees have been welcomed, they are here in Germany, not to do everything 100% for them, but there are certain things I think is good to give it to them. Especially here, we have refugees, which you know that they are saving 8-10 years here in Bavaria. They cannot even speak Dutch. Because what happened, not that they are stupid, they are not stupid. Because someone who is in a condition, and you come again, you put another condition into the person, anything what you say, he cannot hear it. And here in Bavaria, there is no refugee who have opportunity to go to school if you are in a lager, unless if I thought they accept you, they give you open tile, they say go to school. But without that, you don't have right to go to school, you don't have right to work. So all those problems are here. People are going through it in Bavaria here. And we have another 3 people who will speak, because we are from different camps, and we are from also different situations. But all what I can say here, the situation is very hard. It's very hard for refugees. Because some people, they are totally traumatized. Some people, they don't have medical access. Some people in the camp, you will see them, they will just talking by themselves. And somebody who come, he was okay. But now, the mad people are more than the better people because of the situations in the camp. And right now, there are some people, you will talk to the person, he will not know you are talking to the individual person because of the stress from the camp, the pressure, what they put. And if somebody who is not working, you expect the person to pay €1,000 or €2,000 of strafe. Because if they want to take you to prison, that's the only way they can do. They can say, okay, because of you don't have this now, you have to go to prison for this. Because those cases also, we have a lot of them here in Bavaria, which you know that refugees are going through it. So I think I have to limit here my talk, because we have another 3 people who have to say something.
For your input. Sorry.
I should go ahead. Good afternoon. I'm a refugee here in Germany, Bavaria. The main issue here is about police brutality, and I really don't call it police brutality because I call it racism. Yeah, that's what I call it. Police brutality is just a kind of fallacy, just kind of in name, because the kind of situation that we find ourselves here in Germany is uncalled for, is unacceptable, because I cannot imagine that 21st century Germany of all people, you know, you open your arms and invite refugees all over the world. You are welcome here in Deutschland, but what you get in return is even worse than what you get back home in your country, where you came from. Because I live in one of the lagers here in Bavaria, what we really go through is hell. Because even in prisons, I don't think prisoners go through what we, the refugees, go through here in Bavaria. Because I've been waiting for this kind of opportunity to really see people who is going to talk or who is going to ask you questions about police brutality, what you go through in the hands of securities. I cannot imagine a security man that is brought to your lager to guide and protect you, to direct you, to tell you what to do, will be the one to kill you. It's just the case of what is happening in Africa, Nigeria to be precisely, that your own leaders will be the one that will kill its own citizens. These are the people that you beg, you went to their houses, you plead for their vote. Please vote for me. When you vote for me, I will do this for you. At the end of the day, you are the one that will still kill the same people. It's just what is happening here in Germany, because I believe if Germany is not a friendly country, there are a lot of good Germans. They have a lot of good citizens, because if not, we wouldn't have been here having this opportunity to express ourselves, to tell you what we go through in the hands of police, in the hands of security. Because me being in the lager is just kind of, okay, now you are here, whatever thing will do to you is what you take. You don't have any right. I wish I know I would have brought you a letter that I get from my district government saying, because I requested to go to school, because since I came to Germany, I have no opportunity to go to school. But they sent me a letter that because I'm a refugee, I have no authority, I have no right to go to school. I should remain home. I should stay there till my fate is decided. What's the use? Being at home, doing nothing. At the end of the day, they will still tell you that you should go back to your country. I believe if Germany is not ready to accept refugees, it is crystal clear. Tell them that we don't need you here. Then everybody will find their way. It is better than for you to come, because if you look at what is happening in Afghanistan, in Libya, you see people taking guns, taking arms, killing citizens. But here in Germany, they do it secretly, because the death that you have here in Germany is even more than what you record in Africa, because they don't bring these things to the media. Nobody can go to the camps. You cannot come to my camp and say, okay, let me check these things that people are really talking about. They will never allow you because they know the truth. Because if you go there, you cannot even stay. Talk less of saying you want to live there. And there are children, a lot of children. People that are dying each day are even more than people that are well in my camp as we speak. Because the kind of treatment that you give, how can you tell somebody to live on bread, to live on sandwich every day for the full month, and you expect this person not to die? The person will die automatically. But all these things are not recorded in media. No media house can take it because it's not what they put out there for the world to see that is happening here in Germany. So I will give my other people who have the opportunity to express what they've seen. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Samson. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa. I came to Germany 2018. Yeah, I was in one of the camp called Deggendorf, which like is Rebu in that camp. I've been there for almost 2 years. Why? I don't know. Doing nothing. And on July, we organized a protest that why they are keeping us there doing nothing. Because I have most of my friends that have gone mad because of the situation in the camp. They keep 5 people, 6 people in a room. Yeah, they don't allow us to go to school, no work, doing nothing. After the protest, I was transferred to another camp. So when they transfer me, I went to the school. I said I need to go to school because of my age. You know, I'm here for the future. But they asked me that, how long have I been to school? I just told them like 3 months. They say you have to take a test. I say no problem, I'm okay. So they did a dictation. I took the test. The teacher said, okay, it's good, whatever, they will post me again. But since then, up to now, as I'm talking, no school, just in the house, sleeping, doing nothing. And in my former camp, I have 2 of my friends, 2018, the other guy by the name of Usman, a Sierra Leonean. He was beaten by this security guy and they break his arm. I have the photo in my phone. And 2018, this thing, we went to the police and make a report, nothing come off of it. And later, the police came. They said the guy have Dublin with the breaking hand that they should deport him back to Italy. That guy was harassed. And later the guy ran away. We don't know his whereabouts again. And 2020, the same thing repeats in the same camp, Deggendorf. There is an Eritrean boy who went to collect pocket money. This security guy said the guy is not supposed to be there. The guy got a confrontation with them. Later they cut this guy again, they beat him, they break his arm. I will come to Munich and make this report, not to come off of it. So for now, the life in Germany for refugee is not good. How do you accept me, a young man like me, just be sitting in the house doing nothing, which is not good for us? And if you leave Germany now, you go to another country, they will call you again and say, still come back. Because I've seen several times, most of my friends, they run away, they go to a neighbor country like France, Holland. Germany will call for them again and put them in the same situation. You check to other camps, some camps, like me, the last time they bring somebody, they say, it's my roommate. I say, from where? They say, this is going to be a roommate. I say, no. I said, this is Corona time. I don't need anybody in my room. They say, no. So I leave them there. I went to the kitchen because I was cooking. So the housemaster and the chef, they went there, they break the door. They put the guy inside. They changed the locker. They met me at the kitchen. They said, this is your other key. Forget about that. I said, why are you doing this? This is human rights violation. I said, this is Corona time. They said, no, they don't care. So this is my problem I have with them. Please, we are crying for help. We need help. We the refugee. We are here for the future. We are not here to just to sleep. Look at my friend, most of them are not going to school. They just keep us there. We have done, I have applied online. They say they will get to me up to now. We are just doing nothing. And the life in Bavaria, especially Bayern, is miserable for refugee. Thank you. My name is Samson Ba.
Thank you for your input. We have now one question to our witnesses posted from the jury. The question is, do you have legal access to legal advice? Is there a complaint office where you can go and complain and get advice legally?
For mich ist es auf Spanisch oder auf Deutsch.
Gracias, and thank you to our witnesses who were here in person and who are also here online. We would like to continue with the testimonies and would like to ask everyone to keep the question they have in mind and ask them at the end of this hearing. So next we would go on with our next topic on age assessment of minors. And for that we have one witness here who would like to stay anonymous, who would not like to have his face seen, and his name is Javid Husseini. And there will be an interpreter with him, Alexander Eprosi, and we will just put on a picture on the screen, but you will hear their voices. So there will be a direct translation to English.
Hello, my name is Javed. I am from Afghanistan. من از افغانستان هستم. 2015 آمدم در کشور سویدن. 4 سال در کشور سویدن بودم و بعد از اون آمدم در جرمنی، در آلمان.
I come from Afghanistan. I came to Europe 5 years ago, spent 4 years in Sweden, and then came to Germany.
بعد در جرمنی آمدم. در سویدن که بود زیر سن بودم. در جرمنی خود تحویل دادم. بعد اینا سن سویدنم را قبول نکرد. آیدی کارت سویدن خود نشان دادم. گفت تو بالای سن هستی. از سن دیگه آورد برای من نشان داد.
In Sweden, I was a minor. In Germany, I was still a minor. I showed the German authorities my identity papers from Sweden with stating my underage age, and the German government did not recognize this as valid or truthful.
با این که کارت افغانستان هم داشتم اما سن مرا قبول نکرد. یک سن دیگه آورد برای من، گفت تو سن تو رو قبول نداریم. در سویدن هم زیر سن بودم و در اینجا هم 4 آمده بودم. در اینجا هم زیر سن بودم اما اینا قبول نکرد. یه سن دیگه از پیش خود نازد برای من.
I had Afghan identity documents attesting to being underage. I had Swedish documents attesting to being underage, and yet the German government invented a new age for me.
بعد از این نمیخوایم برای کسی دیگه هم اگه زیر سن باشه اتفاق بیفته مثل برای من افتاد. یه قدر سختی دیدم اما اینا که با این میخواستم تست هم بدیم، تست سن ما قبول نکرد. سن مرا تا چیز تذکره افغانستان رو هم داشتم، باز اینا گفت تو بالای سن دستی. شکایتم در دادگاه کردم.
It is unfair to be recognized with an age that is not yours, and I wanted them to test me, to have some medical test carried out to attest to my underagedness. This was not permitted either by the German authorities.
اما همه کار از اینا باعث شد من مدت 6 ماه منج سفید بودم. بعد اینا پلیس آمده بود در موهایم که مرا میخواست در سویدن دیپورت کنه. اما من در سویدن هم زیر سن بودم اما اینا سن مرا قبول نکرده بود. بعد از اون من تصمیم گرفتم مدت 1 سال وری سیاه زندگی کنم در آلمان.
I spent 6 months living here in Germany legally, and after 6 months the police decided that it was decided that I would be deported back to Sweden, and I was obliged to live illegally, to disappear.
چون مدت 1 سال من که در این سیاه زندگی میکردم خیلی سختی‌های کشیدم با این که زیر سن بودم. من سن واقعی من اینا ما را سن بالا زده بود. یک مدت 1 سال وری من در سرک خوابیدم، در زیر پل خوابیده بودم تا 1 سال وری تیر کرده بودم.
I spent 1 year living illegally in Germany. I found it incredibly difficult. I slept on the streets. I lived without money. It was a very difficult year for me.
یعنی حالا نمیخوایم برای کسی دیگه که همچین، اما آلمان میگه مثلا ما از قانونی پیش میریم اما این قانون که کسی که زیر سن باشه در حق یک زیر سن ظلم باشه. نباید همچین اتفاقی برای کسی دیگه بیفته.
I spent a year underage. I was a child, spent a year living illegally, and I believe this is not right, and I would like to ensure that such a thing does not happen again to anybody who is underage and assessed as an adult, though he is not.
یک سوال ندارم، اما کسی اگر سوال داره میتونیم در سوالش جواب بدیم. هر چه سوال دارین میتونید از ما بپرسین.
Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you for sharing your testimony with us. We would continue now with another input from the monitoring group against forced migration, forced return at the airport in North-Rhine Westphalia, in North-Rhine Westphalia in Germany. And they will do their presentation on Zoom online, and they prepared a PowerPoint presentation to give us an overview of their work and the forced migration which is going on in Germany.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to speak on this extremely important tribunal. My name is Dalia Höhne from Diakonie, Rheinland-Westfalen-Lippe, and I'm a forced return monitor, or you can also say deportation monitor. Today, I speak on behalf of the current 5 forced return monitors in Germany. 2 of them are also present online right now, my colleague Sabina from Berlin and my colleague Raphael from Frankfurt. They will be also prepared for the discussion later on. At the moment, independent NGO-based forced return monitoring systems, or in short FRM systems, exists at airports in Frankfurt, Berlin-Brandenburg, Düsseldorf, and Cologne-Bonn, and Hamburg. However, the post in Hamburg is currently vacant. Oh, sorry. The main goals are to ensure transparency in a sector that is mostly inaccessible to the public, as well as to pay attention whether humanitarian standards and the principle of proportionality are met. I would like to stress the independence of the NGO-based forced return monitoring in Germany, which is its distinctive feature in contrast to the FRM organized by Frontex. This becomes in particular apparent since our employees are non-governmental organizations, Diakonie or Caritas. We can communicate and mediate between all stakeholders involved, including those who are affected by forced returns, the so-called returnees. I don't like this expression, but it's the official one. And finally, we regularly report to boards consisting of representatives from the church, governmental and non-governmental organizations, the so-called airport forums, which increases our accountability. However, there are also limitations of the independent forced return monitoring in Germany. First, there's no legislative anchoring at federal level. That means to date, Article 8.6 of the Return Directive has not been translated into national law. Second, the monitoring covers only the pre-departure phase. To be precise, from the moment returnees are handed over to the federal police at the airport until they board the airplane. Accordingly, we do not monitor on board of the airplane, neither do we observe when returnees are picked up from their accommodations and brought to the airport. We have no direct intervention powers, even in case of severe human rights violations. We have only limited access to data with regards to returnees. For instance, we have no medical information on individual cases. And there are also restrictions on public relations. That means as monitors, we are not allowed to actively speak to the public. Furthermore, except from the annual reports, which are also censored by governmental agencies, by the way, no regular reports of the monitors' observations are published. The regular reports that we write on a monthly basis are exclusively discussed in non-public meetings of the airport forums. Despite those limitations, what do we observe? As independent forced return monitors, we regularly document and report complex problematic cases. Recurrent problem areas are organizational difficulties, then the treatment of returnees by authorities, separation of family members, and child protection in the context of forced returns, which is a huge question or a problem. And then finally, forced returns and health, which is a huge problem as well. It is important to note that from one problematic case, often two or more questions arise, which are addressed to the respective airport forum. I will elaborate a bit more on forced returns and health, because most cases that are presented to the airport forums by the monitors in Germany relate to problems with regards to the health condition of returnees and the fitness or so-called fitness to travel. In case of North-Rhine Westphalia, those cases made out more than 40% of all cases. That means 34 out of 84 cases in 2019 that were presented to the airport forum. In the context of forced returns and health, problems are most commonly related to the following topics: cooperation between medical doctors or staff and authorities, medicine supply during the first return, but also regarding supply of and access to medicine in the destination country, including documentation in this regard, medical certificates by specialists versus so-called fit to flies. Concerning this matter, we regularly observe huge discrepancies. And communication deficits, another problem. And sometimes it can happen that medical information on returnees is not sufficiently communicated between foreigners authorities and the federal police at the airport due to so-called privacy issues. And even medical certificates are not always handed over. And then finally, forced returns in the context of inpatient treatment. In 2019, the monitors in North-Rhine Westphalia documented 6 of such cases, including deportations out of psychiatric hospitals. In general, an increase of such cases can be observed. In the following, I would like to present to you 2 case examples now in order to make the problem area forced returns and health more concrete. The first case example was observed in 2018 by our colleague at Hamburg Airport, and he monitored a so-called medical charter flight for the purpose of a deportation from Germany to Ghana. The returnee B suffered from renal failure, low blood pressure, and further related disorders. According to the accompanying physician, the patient was and was urgently dependent to regularly take his medicine. Our colleague in Hamburg described B as having appeared in a feeble health condition, strongly red-eyed with swollen feet and speaking extremely quiet. B reported that he has been living in Germany for more than 10 years and therefore has no social networks in Ghana and also no friends and family. Hence, he assumed that he will die in Ghana because of not having any financial means or social networks who could care for him. Since the airplane was equipped with emergency medical devices, and next to the flight captain, a co-pilot, also an emergency medicine specialist, as well as a paramedic, were on board of the plane, such a flight can be characterized as a flying intensive care unit or flying ICU. You can see that on the picture on the right. By the human rights organizations in the respective airport forum, this case was criticized as totally inhuman and disproportionate. It is an extreme example of the narrow interpretation of the so-called fitness to travel, which solely focuses on the transportability from A to B of persons affected. If the transportability is not guaranteed on regular flights or regular charter flights, it can be enforced, though, with rigorous measures like a medical charter. Moreover, this case is also an example of the problem in relation to the selection of accompanying physicians. Besides the fact that an emergency medicine specialist is not necessarily a specialist for renal diseases, it is strongly questionable that the accompanying doctor said that the patient is fatally ill and at the same time agreed to accompany him. Although B was provided with a supply of medicine for 3 months, it remained unsettled how he should finance his medical treatment in the aftermath. The deportation was eventually enforced on the basis of an economic calculation solely. That means whether it would cost more to continue treatment in Germany or to organize a flying ICU. I will present to you another case example, which is about deportation despite suicide attempt. In 2019, the monitors in Düsseldorf monitored the first return of a person to Afghanistan who attempted suicide on the day of his deportation. When the returnee N was picked up by the police from his shared apartment in Saxony, he tried to cut his wrists. Subsequently, N was brought to a hospital where he was sewed with more than 40 stitches and bandage, and the picture on the right is the original picture. Shortly after that, the attending physician attested him as fit to travel, and consequently, N was brought to the airport by the police without an accompanying doctor or medical staff. For the transport, the police handcuffed him and put a helmet on him. When N was handed over to the federal police at the airport, an officer who handed over another returnee commented on the situation with the following words: "Oh, cool. Is this Hannibal Lecter or what?" N was deported to Afghanistan on a Frontex charter flight together with 32 other returnees, 69 police officers, 1 accompanying doctor, an interpreter, and a Frontex monitor. This extreme case of N raises questions in relation to 3 topics within the problem area, forced return and health, namely, first, cooperation between medical doctors or staff and authorities. Second, medical certificates by specialists versus so-called fit-to-flies. And third, forced returns in the context of inpatient treatment. Furthermore, the comment of the officer who was responsible for another returnee is an example of a totally inappropriate as well as inhuman treatment of returnees by authorities. From the forced return monitor's view, it is absolutely incomprehensible that N was deported to Afghanistan instead of being hospitalized for further medical and psychological treatment. Equally, it is incomprehensible that in this extreme case, a so-called fit-to-fly was sufficient instead of a medical certificate issued by a psychiatrist, psychotherapist, or psychotherapist. The same critique relates to the fact that N was accompanied on board of the airplane by a general practitioner and not by a specialist. At the end of my presentation, I would like to raise awareness on the current situation at airports. Forced returns in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite worldwide restrictions on social contacts, traveling, general mobility, and so on, with the aim of containing the COVID-19 pandemic, forced returns have not been suspended at any time. Only transfers, according to the Dublin III regulation, have been suspended temporarily but resumed again. Hence, forced returns have been enforced all the time, albeit with considerable additional expenses. Also, charter flights, for example, to countries such as Albania, Serbia, Pakistan, and so on, regularly take place. For instance, on the 24th of March, 31 in this year, 2020, 31 returnees, escorted by 20 officers, were deported to Serbia from Düsseldorf Airport, just 1 day after the federal state government of North-Rhine Westphalia officially announced an extensive contact ban. During that time, regular flights to Serbia were suspended, by the way. In this regard, critical questions need to be raised, and I would like to share them with you. To what extent can hygienic and infection protection measures with the aim of containing the COVID-19 pandemic be applied to the setting of a forced return operation, and in particular a charter forced return operation with sometimes up to more than 100 persons involved. Without testing every person involved in return operations, returnees, escorting officers, and others, can there be a guarantee that there is nobody infected with the coronavirus among them? How are forced returns into countries with high infection rates and or with poor medical healthcare systems justified? Why is there almost no transparency with regards to forced returns in times of the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic? Thank you very much for your attention. Here are also the sources.
Thank you very much for your input. Now I would like to ask the jurors if they have any questions to any of the witnesses that they give their inputs for the last hearing. We still have the witnesses here with us presented. You can address them, and also the participants, the online participants, they are still with us via Zoom, and they can answer your questions. Please raise your hand if you have. Okay, we have one question from Sarah. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the testimonies. I have a question for our witness on the age assessment. Could you maybe explain how the authorities in Germany arrived to the conclusion that you were not minor? So were any sort of tests done, or I haven't quite understood yet how this assessment was made.
So your question actually to the couple?
No, it's...
sorry.
It's already being translated.
Okay, thank you. So now we're waiting for the question to be translated, and our witness is going to contribute. We cannot hear you. Can you please unmute his microphone? Now he's waiting for the microphone to be turned on.
و از ما که از سویدن آمدم، در سویدن مدت 4 سال میشد، زیر سن بودم و علم کار در آیسوای سویدن من بود پیشم. گفتم من سویدنم زیر سن هستم. امنا که از ما پرسید، بدون از اینکه از ما بپرسد سن آورده بود برای ما کپی کرده و سن ما گفتم سن از ما اینقدر، همه چیز سوال که جواب دادم، بعد سن نشان داد، گفت مو تصمیم گرفته سن سویدن اینقدر است.
There was no kind of seeking of proof or of medical tests or anything of that kind. He had been living in Sweden for 4 years as a recognized minor. This was confirmed by identity documents that he carried with him, copies of which he carried with him when he came to Germany. These were shown to the authorities in Germany, and it was simply decided that they were invalid. They decided that they were untrue, but they gave no explanation on how they came to that conclusion.
Thank you for your answer. We have another question or input. Can we see the screen? Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, I had a question for Dalia. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Can you speak
It's very
louder,
clear.
please?
Sorry, yes. I had a question for Dalia. Thank you so much for your presentation. I was wondering if you could explain the relationship between your organization and the state, because you seem to have a little bit of leverage in terms of being able to monitor, but you're also subject to censorship. So I think I wanted to understand a bit more how that relationship works. And the second question is whether, because of this very problematic cooperation between the medical staff and the authorities, if there's any sort of campaigning that is being done amongst the medical community to alert them and raise awareness in terms of the impact of their collaboration. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your questions. I would like to remind that two of my colleagues are also in the audience, so if they would like to answer, otherwise I can do, of course.
I think you can go ahead.
But go ahead.
Okay, so I will answer the second question. Unfortunately, I haven't came across such campaigns when it comes to the problematic cooperation between doctors and authorities. But this is a reason why I'm here, and we try to build up the network with IPP and W as well. And also we did some more small events in the past with different doctors, and we want to strengthen this relationship, because I think also that a lot of them are not aware that these things are going on. So that's a problem, definitely. And I think there needs to be a lobby also from the doctors and medical staff in general. And with regards to the first question, it's very difficult to answer. So we are independent, that's true, but we are also financed partially by the state, by the federal state governments. And on the other hand, there's also the Frontex monitoring, and it happens the same time. And in case of Germany, the Frontex monitors, the German ones, are chosen by the BAMF. So the, I can't translate this, the ministry who's also responsible for enforcing or making the decisions and enforcing the returns at the end. But definitely we also need a stronger lobby, and there are also a few airports only which are covered right now by the monitoring, so it needs to be in whole Germany. There are certain airports which are not covered at all.
Thank you for your answer. We have here the last question from Mr. Ahmed Saeed. Let's go ahead.
My question also is directed to Dalia. Thank you, Dalia, for your great work. My question is, if the doctors who are responsible for deciding that this person is fit to be deported or not, are there specific requirements of these doctors? Like, are they independent, or do they belong to the state? Or just, this is my question, if they are independent or not, if these specific requirements make them able to decide, and so on.
This question with regards to North-Rhine Westphalia, so maybe my colleague also from Frankfurt wants to add on it later on. They are chosen by the authorities who also enforce the return operations. So not from the police. There are different doctors. We also have no information where they are from in particular, and but definitely they are not specialists. So it's not important or necessary to be a specialist, even if you have to escort such cases I just presented. And when it comes to the fit to flies, there are no special requirements, which is a strong contrast to the requirements that the refugees have to hand in by themselves when it comes to the medical attestations. So this is a huge discrepancy.
It's
But-
really unbelievable.
Sorry?
It's for me, it's unbelievable. Like to decide that a patient with renal failure is fit to fly, it's really has nothing to do with medicine, and a patient who's just survived a suicidal attack, and then decided that he's fit to be deported, and this is why I was concerned about from where came these doctors already, and if we are trying to set special requirements according to what the doctors be chosen, and if they are chosen by any kind of institutions other than the state itself or the police itself, or if the refugee have or has the right to ask for an independent opinion, or like was my concern, if there is any kind of way to go out of this dilemma that the state choose the doctor and there's no special requirements, and then they decide for deportation. If you can give me more detailed picture about what is the alternative that the refugee have to overcome such a decision.
Yeah. Usually the decision is already made by the responsible ministry, the BAMF. So this is just about new situations that can appear, but also when people have chronic diseases, they have to hand in those attestations all the time. So otherwise the authorities will ask just some doctor, not a specialist, who can write 2-3 lines and says this person is fit to fly. Sometimes they haven't even seen the patient, so they just write it because of looking into the documents. And sometimes at the airports, there are no medical attestations. It also happened that doctors who always accompany Frontex or who are always on Frontex charter flight, this is a requirement, might do the examination at the airport and then say this person is fit to fly without further knowledge. So I don't know if there are any alternatives. I think, again, there needs to be a strong lobby among doctors and medical staff in Germany, and they have to ask for that. So, because they are the specialists, not the authorities.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you, Dalia. I think what makes the situation even worse is that doctors have come under pressure for allegedly giving false evidence concerning the health status of refugees in order to prevent deportation. I was wondering if you could say a little bit more on this issue. Thank you. In Germany, doctors have come under attack for supposedly giving false evidence concerning the health status of refugees. So giving them certificates that they're unable to fly, that they have medical conditions that would prevent them from being deported. I was wondering if they could say more on this debate, because it's really exacerbating the situation that you have described.
Yes, I know about this debate. Of course, they call it Gefälligkeitsgutachten in Germany. And, but the problem is we have also, as I said, we have no detailed information on the medical assessments that have been done before, unless we receive such attestations from support organizations, for instance, like Pro Asyl, who sometimes have more information on specific cases. But then again, even if there is a Gefälligkeitsgutachten, they will put this fit to fly on top of it, especially when they doubt it. But I think also the discussion goes in this direction that it is easy said that those are false attestations without further evidence, without proving them. So they just have their opinion on that and they say they have to check it again. And sometimes, especially when it comes to psychological diseases, the problem is that they don't accept attestation of psychologists, and they need to be doctors. And even if they are doctors, then they might say, all right, this patient has seen you just 1 or twice or 3 times, so how can you testify that this person has, for instance, a post-traumatic stress disorder? It's not possible, and then they will say this is just a false attestation, for instance. But yeah, we know about this debate, and it's a terrible debate.
Thank you, Dalia. There is another question posted, I think, also to you. And the question is, does it mean that a minor, for example, will be deported when the authorities do a wrong assessment?
I have no evidence, but I'm pretty sure. So if there's the assessment and the person is assessed being not a minor anymore, he can be deported, even on a Frontex charter flight.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I would like to summarize what we had today before we go to break. Today we had a few hearings. We had so far 3 hearings. We heard first about the situation on the Greek islands. We heard about the criminalization of solidarity and also racism and the criminalization of refugees and people, migrant people. We also heard about living under stress, and we went through the situations in the camps here in Germany. And now we will have our final hearing for today about the migrant workers' rights. And that would be with 3 inputs, 2 in English and 1 mixed English-Spanish. So please prepare your equipment if you need translation after a while. The hearing should last until 6:30 as we planned. Now we will have 15 minutes break for coffee break, and we're coming back. Thank you very much.